So I saw Samson, new movie that just came out this year. Most people know Samson from the Bible. You probably know he's very strong. His strength came from his hair. He got tricked by Delilah. Delilah cut his hair. Then he lost his strength, but by a miracle, he got his strength back and was able to bring down the temples on the Philistines. A lot of people probably have heard the term Philistine as someone who's uncultured. Now, this movie did some things pretty well. I liked the casting. I think that the casting of Samson, he was a very strong, imposing figure, but he was also relatable and likable, and he wasn't particularly charismatic. You could say a bit of a wooden performance, but I don't think Samson had to be very talkative or very dynamic. It was fine that he was more the strong, silent type, but still compelling, I thought. And the villains they cast, King Balek was Billy Zane, and he gave a really interesting performance as kind of the old, wise, evil king, and then his young, overly ambitious son. Now his son, actor, last name Rathbone, perfect villain name, and his son gave this great, campy, over-the-top performance that I thought was very devilish, very villainous. So good villains. It was Delilah that was the biggest. I think this movie could have been great because Delilah in popular culture is such an image of a femme fatale, a vixen, and they could have really played that up and had a pretty good movie, but she was so bland, so forgettable. They didn't really flesh her out at all. And it was disappointing. I thought it was a missed opportunity. And some of the iconic scenes, I thought they captured well. So the scene at the end where he brings down the temple, I thought it was great. The crowd was jeering and chanting, and the Philistine king, Rathbone, like I talked about, just so hateable, so arrogant, and the music, and it was a pretty satisfying moment, I thought. But other scenes, he fights a lion. It was pretty weak sequence. I thought they could have done a better job with that. And then some other scenes, there's famous from the Bible where he ties fire to the tails of 300 foxes, and then the foxes burn all the Philistine fields. And we barely saw anything. It was nodded to, but that could have been such an interesting visual. So I was disappointed we didn't see that. Could have fleshed out. The actor who plays Roy Batty in Blade Runner. I want to say Blade Runner fame, Blade Runner idolatry. Probably one of the most talked about scenes in movie history. He was in it, wasn't given much to do. So I feel like it was a missed opportunity. And in some sense, I'll give the movie a bit of a pass because, so this is the Bible. You can see not much on each page. This is where he's born. And then his death's there. I missed a page. Yeah. So he's born there. And then 1 page, 2 pages, his death's here. So you're comparing, they don't have that much to work with. Like, comparing that much that they have to adapt versus this is the Iliad. So if you look at the movie Troy, you've got that much material. So with Troy, it's about you've too much material and you get to pick and choose what you want to have. With Samson, there's not that much that you have to choose from. So yeah, it seemed like it was a little thin, the plot at times, and you wish that there was more going on. But at a certain point, you're just inventing and putting stuff into the story that's not there. And obviously people are going to have a big problem with that. So I thought they did a decent job with the relatively small amount of material that you have to work with. And they did include Samson's riddle, which I think is one of the most frustrating and confusing riddles. So the riddle goes, out of the strong comes meat, out of the eater comes meat, out of the strong comes sweet. And the answer to the riddle is the carcass of a lion that's covered in honey, because the lion eats things. So out of the eater, the lion comes meat. And then out of the strong, which I guess is the lion, comes sweet, because the honey, just baffling riddle, but they had fidelity. They took the riddle, they didn't try to make any more sense. They just did the riddle as is, which I guess you can give them credit for. And the action, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't very good either. It's pretty bad at some points. The time I'm thinking of, there was a scene where Samson kills all these Philistines with the jawbone of an ass, and he's fighting off just him, all these other Philistines, and some of the Philistines, as they're fighting, they'll be describing the action, what's going place, kind of like they're announcers watching a sporting event. And it was just so unrealistic and also unnecessary because it wasn't confusing action. So they didn't need to describe, oh, he's the Samson has fallen and we've defeated Samson. And then, oh no, Samson's getting up. Like, we can clearly see what's going on. So just a strange choice. And last thing I'll say, not a great movie, and I don't think it was a great Christian movie either. If you're looking for something with a nice Christian message, something about forgiveness, turning the other cheek, something like Ben-Hur, the remake that came out, I thought that had a really nice message at the end that was really, really inspiring, where you see sacrifice and forgiveness and the power of that, and it was really moving. Here, I get it's a different story. Here it's more about righteous vengeance in a sense, so not quite the same, but I thought it was a little light on any kind of spirituality, ethics message. It was a little more just kind of a classic action movie that wasn't done particularly well.